Good day, welcome to Ghost Hunting 101. I'm your host, Gavil Gavelson. Today I'll be learning about how to find the ghost, identify the ghost, and get out of there with your life.
We'll be covering such topics as gearing up, finding the ghost, making extra money, and using your deductive skills.
Alright, let's get into it.
Start your evening right by taking the torch, EMF reader, and thermometer. The torch is an indispensable tool, and leaving it behind is for the experienced, the brave, or the foolhardy. I've had the fuse box turned off more than once in the first couple of minutes, and turning it back on is not a job you really want to tackle torchless. Remember, sanity equals less ghost hunts, and being in the dark reduces your sanity, so take a torch. You're mostly safe from hunts while the timer is above 5 minutes and your sanity is high, but you don't want to drain your sanity too early, particularly if you're tackling large areas. If you do start to go mad, I hope to hell you packed your brown pants. Next to a torch, some people claim a camera, spirit box, or baguette are essential on your first foray, but those people are wrong or French. Bring the thermometer. It's the gold standard for finding a ghost's favourite room. This isn't perfect and may require backtracking, but it works 95% of the time. For slot 3, I recommend the EMF Reader. You could swap this out for the book, spirit box, or video camera, with video camera being the next best option. But I lean towards EMF. It allows you to examine objects a ghost might have interacted with recently, and this happens quite regularly and benignly in the first minutes of the job. Now you're kitted out, let's find that ghost room. Finding the ghost's favourite room as quick as you can is the most important task, and nothing else should divert your attention in the first 5 minutes. We won't send you out to find ghosts that move rooms, or to properties with the power switched off. Those are jobs for the competent. You'll note that some of your starter kit is well loved, possibly from the 1980s, but it's functional and mostly clean. The nice stuff is for earners only, work your way up the ranks, don't die, and you'll get equipment that actually works. I mean works better. Let's watch an expert at work as they scour the haunted area looking for the ghost. First thing you want to do is enter the area and stop for a moment to listen for anything unusual. This might be the creak of a door, the thud of something falling to the floor, or even a ghostly noise in the air. And that light got turned off, and he's trying to scare the shit out of me already. When you hear this, you should focus your initial efforts around the area it came from. Look for open doors, lights that are already on, or small things lying on the floor that should have been elsewhere, like tools or plates. These all suggest the presence of an incorporeal being, and you should use the EMF reader to check open doors, light switches, and objects. You want to turn on lights as you go, but after searching a room, it is prudent to turn the lights off and so reduce the risk of blowing a fuse and wasting time having to track down the fuse box. The presence of a ghost lowers the temperature considerably, and this will remain low in the ghost's favourite room. Anything that drops below the ambient temperature of the area, and generally below 5 degrees Celsius, though not always, is probably the ghost room. Move from room to room, noting any drops in temperature. You should also be looking for visible breath in the air as another indicator. Once you are sure you have found the right room, drop the thermometer on a raised surface. Do the same with the EMF reader, but put it outside the ghost room. At this point, you should have plenty of time remaining, so retrieve the spirit box and the ghost writing book right away. Use the spirit box while it is still relatively safe to do so, though no promises for the safety of your underpants. Leave this outside the ghost room before you move to the next gadget. Place the book in the room, then return to the truck to retrieve the video camera and the UV or the dots. You will have to make more than one trip for the remaining equipment, or if you are particularly stupid, leave the torch and grab all 3 at once. We do not recommend this course of action as it is not covered by ghost insurance and you may be exposed to death or legal action. We are leaving a lot of the equipment outside the room, and the reason for this is simply to reduce the number of items in the room that a ghost can interact with. This increases the odds of a ghost interacting with the ghost writing book. Let's hope you've grasped the theory behind entity location, because now it's time to move on to a slightly more detailed examination of the starter equipment. This thing is a piece of garbage from the 19th century. However, we cannot justify giving anything better to the fodder. Did I say fodder? I meant new partner. The starter thermometer is an old school bulb jobby, and as such it registers the change of temperature as slowly as you are likely to be finding your first ghost. When you first enter the area, hold the thermometer while you are listening for ghost activity. This lets the thermometer come up to the ambient room temperature. You may notice some fluctuations as you move around, however, this is normal. If you notice a large drop, stop and wait to see how far it goes. Look for visible breath at this stage also. Sometimes the temperature drops noticeably in an area, but then increases after a small delay. This is probably due to the ghost moving about, and you have crossed paths. Once you have a room with a stable low temperature, drop the thermometer here, as this is almost certainly the ghost room. The temperature may not show freezing immediately, so move on to other equipment. You should check the temperature every time you return to this room to confirm that this is the right room and to check if it has dropped below freezing. The starter EMF reader will register activity when in the vicinity of items that a ghost has interacted with recently. This can include doors, light switches, and objects. The needle will indicate the level of EMF activity from the interaction. Should it exceed 5, this is considered evidence that can be used to identify a ghost. Each level of EMF indicates a different level of ghost interaction, with 1 being light interaction and 4 to 5 being a major interaction. While simple in theory, it can prove troublesome to gather this information in a timely manner. So we always leave the reader in the ghost room to use when there is something to inspect. You will not always get a reading of 5 from a ghost that has this property. So if you're unsure about this, make sure you are continuously testing interacted things. There are side objectives on the corkboard involved in EMF evidence, and any level of EMF reading will satisfy this objective. The book is pretty much set and forget. Place it in the ghost room and check it later. If the book is thrown by the ghost, pick it up and place it again. If it is blank, you can rule out ghost writing as evidence because if an entity is a ghost writer, the first interaction with a book will always be to write in it. If you place it again and it has writing in it, well, you've got your evidence. Later, when you have more money, you can buy and place multiple books, and this will increase the odds of you discovering the evidence in a more timely manner. You should be using the spirit box as soon as you find the ghost room, and while you still have a high sanity and hopefully the timer hasn't run down. A lot of newbies have trouble with the spirit box for one reason or another. It's problematic, finicky, and you have to stand in a dark haunted room shouting into the void while your sanity drops, your back crack moistens, and all of the crimes of your past come flooding back to you as you stand there wondering how you ended up in there. To use the spirit box effectively, you first need to note whether the ghost cares if you brought some friends with you or not. Please remember, Ghost Breaker's insurance will not extend to your dead friends. If you do bring friends along, be aware that some ghost only responds if there is a single person in the room. Apart from this, make sure the lights of the room are turned off and you're good to go. Turn the spirit box on, you'll hear it cycle through frequencies, and then ask your questions. 2 things to check are the microphone light and the ghost response light. When you talk, the microphone light should light up white. If the question was heard but not answered, the ghost light will flash up red. When the ghost responds, you'll know. As you're shitting your pants, the ghost light will flash white. What do you want? The best questions are related to its location, its intentions, and its age. Asking, where are you? What do you want? And how old are you? Are simplest questions for ghosts to understand. If at first you don't succeed, do a lap or 2 of the area, continuing to ask the questions. If you still get nothing, it's time to turn on the light and save yourself from sanity. Place the spirit box outside in case you need to retest. The video camera is extremely versatile, but we like to bring it and place it in the ghost room after placing some other items first. While it is excellent for finding ghost orbs, it is also useful for reading the thermometer and EMF reader, observing the dots, and checking the writing in a book. If you can set it up in such a way that it is looking as many of these as possible, you can observe a lot of evidence from the safety of the truck. The camera can also be used on the go to look for ghost orbs, and this is another way to find or confirm a ghost room. Be patient when looking for ghost orbs. They are little circular blobs that move slowly in a floating motion. They can drift up, down, or sideways. Don't mistake light sources, reflections, video artifacts, or even snow for ghost orbs. For some reason in this reality, snow sometimes shows up on cameras placed inside. Although weird, it's not as crazy as entities coming to our houses to knock over the good crockery. Use the Glowstick like you would the EMF reader. When the entity opens doors, turns off lights, and walks around, it is possible it will leave handprints, fingerprints, and footprints. Check the door of the ghost room, both sides of course, as well as light switches, then leave the Glowstick on the floor outside the room for quick access if you observe another interaction. When the Glowstick dims, it can be brought back to life with a quick flick of the wrist. Dots is another of those sanity-sapping, nerve-wracking items that seem primarily designed to reduce the heart's lifespan. The starter dots is handheld, and effective use entails holding the dots while walking around in a dark room. When you see nothing after a few laps, you can put the device in a place where the video camera can see the field of dots. A lot of broken down wannabes in their exit interview ask me, how can you tell if you've seen a ghost in the dots? And my answer is always the same. You'll know. We now move on to the part of ghost hunting that separates those who have it from those who will soon be bagging groceries or trading stocks. The art of deduction. Once upon a time, the intrepid hunter embarked with only a thermometer and his experience to save him. Now we have gadgets and a magical journal that contains all of the information you will ever need and that somehow automatically pares down the ghost choices as you note evidence. It's not always possible or desirable to find all three pieces of evidence. Perhaps you're running out of time, perhaps the ghost isn't cooperating with your efforts to get ghostwriting, or maybe you just plain suck at using the equipment. What's more important than any gadget is that thing sloshing around in your skull. After you've used each piece of equipment at least once, you should have one piece of unequivocal evidence, probably two. Rather than test everything to the nth degree, mark down your positives and then look at the remaining ghosts and rule out all of the evidence that are not included in their profiles. You don't need to test any of these again. Now, retest the traits that remain. If you can positively rule anything out, do so now, but do not discard hastily, be 100% sure. If you are short on time, or fail to find the third piece of evidence, now is the moment to read through the ghost descriptions and line up the recorded behaviours with your personal observations. You have been paying attention, right? Was it vocal? Was it very active? Did it throw a lot of things around? If you are at the point where the timer has run down and your sanity is beneath 60%, it's time to put that intuition to work. It's better to make your best guess and get it wrong than get killed trying to leave a pittance to your significant other. To soften the blow of inevitable failure, I have a few little tips to take the sting out of guessing incorrectly, as I am sure you will do over and over. You should target the low-hanging side objectives. They're at the bottom of the corkboard in the truck. The simplest stuff is getting an EMF reading and witnessing a ghost event. There are a lot of ways to make money with a film camera by recording the daily lives and loves of ghosts, but as we don't trust you with a camera on day one, this won't be possible. For future reference though, you can take pictures of things like the ghost, bones, ghost writing, ghost events, dead bodies, and things highlighted by UV. Something to look forward to when you survive long enough to get your first Polaroids. Keep your eyes peeled during the investigation. You can collect cursed objects and bones and pawn them for a little cash. Be on the lookout for bones on the floor or interesting objects lying around the place. Newbies are very much discouraged from activating cursed objects. However, if you insist, please make sure to throw these valuable objects out of the door before you are dragged off to the 9th circle so they are more safely collected by our cleanup teams. This brings us to the end of Ghost Hunting 101 here at Ghost Breakers. We hope you have a lucrative and survivable first week. You will be set up in a lovely shed or warehouse on the outskirts of town with your truck and starter equipment ready to go. If you find any possessions lying around, please bring them in to us to our catalogue. Hunters occasionally move on unexpectedly for reasons unrelated to ghosts. If you should move on unexpectedly, please leave the starter equipment clean and in good order for the next tenants. Good luck and good hunting, Ghost Breakers. Show's over.